What is up out there, Ugnots and Jawas, and welcome to another episode of Mando Talk. We got a fun episode for you today. Timothy Olyphant has been reported to be cast in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and apparently he's going to be wearing Boba Fett's armor. What does that mean? Who is he going to be playing? Is he playing Boba Fett, or is he playing a character that we have seen in canon? Check us out this week. You'll get to see what we think about that on this week's episode of Mando Talk. May the Force be with you, and let's get to it.
Dude, we're joined in studio by a special guest today, right?
Harrison Ford is in studio. Han Solo.
In the flesh.
We've got Empire Strikes Back on our mind, because today's the 40th anniversary of the greatest movie of all time.
Debatable.
The greatest movie of all time.
I think, greatest Star Wars movie. I think Revenge of the Sith came out, sooner than 40 years ago.
You think Revenge of the Sith is the greatest movie of all time?
I said greatest Star Wars movie. Let's get that on record.
Okay, so, wait. That's Nolan's favorite movie.
Well,
y'all share that.
He may have said it first, but he liked it more about the younglings part with Anakin.
True. He likes killing those younglings.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Mando Talk. Brandon Anderson has joined me.
Yep, I'm back.
Thanks for coming by, hanging out with me.
Yeah, I know you called up last minute and said that, you had a few people going to be out of studio today, so
yeah,
pulled some things together and happy to be here.
Yeah, we're pre-recording. It's Thursday, but this is coming out on Friday like normal. We had some things come up this weekend, so we had to go ahead and get it done. Luckily, Brandon was able to step in and hop on Mando Talk with me. So we've got a lot of things to discuss. Some basic things to discuss just for us to have some fun. And then the only news that we have, like we teased up at the top, is Timothy Olyphant cast in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Now, every single time I say his last name, I'm stopping myself from saying elephant.
dude, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, you did a better job. I thought it was elephant until you just said it, so I'm glad we got that out of the way.
It's tough, and if I mess up his last name at some point during this episode, don't be surprised.
What's Tamira Morrison is the other actor,
Tamira
right?
Morrison, right.
But yeah, like you said, we'll get in that a little later.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing, though, that we wanted to talk about, just some general conversation, was this past week. I don't remember what day it was, but I saw it on social media. It was National Streaming Day, and I know we've had a lot of time at home with everything going on, so I wanted to open up the show just kind of asking, like, what are we watching? What are we doing to pass the time by? And how are we having fun at home?
Well, streaming's huge right now because a lot of us are quarantined and, stuck at home. So,
yeah.
I mean, this past week I've been watching a little bit of everything, rewatching some old shows, Community, The Office, watching a few episodes of that. I've seen it so many times I can pretty much quote it, but it's great to have on. And I know I mentioned I watched Mindhunters, and you hadn't heard anything about it yet.
No, I have not.
It's a great show for those of you out there who are like crime thrillers and suspenseful stuff. It's a show you really enjoy.
Have you seen Ozark?
I saw the first season. I heard the second season, or maybe be on the third one now.
Mm-hmm. We're on the third one now.
Yeah, I heard though it's dropped off in quality, so I haven't got around. That's what I've heard.
I thought Season 2 and 3 were better than 1, in my opinion.
How I heard it explained was something happens, but it really doesn't. It just defaults back to it. They said it's a poor man's Breaking Bad. I think you even said that.
I said that.
Okay.
I think I said that on air that it was a poor man's Breaking Bad. But
so I'm sure I'll get around to watching it because, like I said, I've watched a bunch.
Yeah. So currently for us, I know sports-wise, The Last Dance is going crazy. It just wrapped up, but I have not finished The Last Dance. So don't be tweeting Mando Talk or anything spoilers. Because I have not seen the last 3 episodes, so I'm watching that right now. I also finally got the wife to watch How I Met Your Mother. I know we were talking about that off air.
Yeah.
I love How I Met Your Mother. I just don't like the last season particularly, but
I can see that.
And I know we were talking off air. I know this is completely away from Star Wars, but how we were debating between How I Met Your Mother and Friends. I think that's a fun debate.
I think it's like it goes back to like The Office and Parks and Rec too.
Yeah.
It's people who like, this one as opposed to this one. They may
Right.
like both of them. Like for me, Friends is okay. I've watched it a lot growing up because it's always on. It is always on
That's
TV.
true. Friends is like one of those comfort things you throw on the background and you just continue on with your daily thing.
Yeah. But I'm with Keller. I'm a How I Met Your Mother kind of guy.
For sure.
I'm on that side of the fence.
For sure.
So.
I agree. All right. That's really all we're watching.
Yeah.
I have been watching. I know on air I've talked about how Star Wars trumps MCU by far, and I will always be on that stance. Always. We're on air. We're on a Star Wars podcast. You better watch your grimaces there.
Are we talking about sequels or are we talking about
We're talking about just Star Wars in general. MCU. I will say this. Okay, I've been watching all the MCU, not in release order, but chronologically.
Right.
In time frames. And I've gotten like halfway, and I just finished Thor: The Dark World or Dark World, something like that. It's been okay. To connect this to Star Wars, I really appreciate Kevin Feige and MCU's ability to dedicate fully connecting every single one of those like 20-something movies.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. And I just kind of wish that was the case for the sequels.
I was just about to say that too. Like they did such a great job, and Star Wars has lacked in that. And that's something that sticks out to me. How they can connect. I don't even know the count on movies. You may know however many it was before Infinity War. However many
in the 20s.
Yeah,
before Infinity War.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Granted, the timeline, because Empire Strikes Back was 40 years ago today.
Right.
So I mean, just that much time it's got to be a hard task to do. So props to MCU, and hopefully Star Wars will get better.
Star Wars is better, but regardless. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about, though, is this big thing. Okay, this is, again, more intro stuff, but this big thing going on. Zack Snyder, I know those of you listening probably are familiar with the DCEU as well. Zack Snyder cut of Justice League is coming out on HBO Max. Now, in my notes I have for me to connect this to Star Wars somehow. What I wanted to discuss with that, because there's report that Zack Snyder's Justice League cut, they haven't decided if they're going to release it on HBO Max as a chapter kind of series or as a film. But regardless, I think it's important for Star Wars because, number one, it might make Disney Plus have a legit competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I know The Mandalorian right now, I believe, is the number 2 streamed show, and number 1 is actually The Clone Wars just because it came out most recent.
Right.
But if they decide to release that as a TV show, I think it's going to have some heavy competition for The Mandalorian, especially if they decide, I believe they said 2021 is the release date for Zack Snyder's Justice League, whatever.
Justice Cut.
Justice Cut. 2021 is that release. Now, we don't know if Mandalorian will have Season 3 in 2021. I'm assuming it's going to, though. And it'll be interesting if they release that around the same time. I believe that'll be legitimate competition for The Mandalorian. Thoughts on that?
I think from a logistics standpoint, it wouldn't be probably the best if they release it at the same time.
Yeah.
Because coming from the initial release of Justice League, it didn't do too hot.
No, it didn't.
People were kind of fed up with it.
That's why people are wanting this one.
And it may be if they release it at a time when something isn't like that, people are like, oh, I'll give it another shot. Because I've heard rumors that the Zack Snyder cut was longer and that there was some stuff that he was forced kind of to leave out. So
the issue was Zack Snyder had to leave the project and another director came in. And a lot of people believe that a lot of the stuff the other director did went into the film and not what Zack Snyder did.
Right, sort of like he restarted the whole thing.
Right,
yeah.
So we'll see, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, that's the biggest thing in pop culture entertainment going on right now, and I wanted to somehow connect that to Star Wars, and I think that's a legitimate case. Like HBO Max, I wasn't considering getting it, but if they're going to put that out there, I'm probably going to sign up for it.
Yeah,
at least
check it out.
For however long I have to, and then get off of it once I've seen that. But yeah, let us know what you think. If you think that Justice League, if they release it as a chapter series, will that be competition for The Mandalorian for like which one's the number one TV show of the year, because I'm assuming season 3 comes out in 2021. So we'll see. Yeah, just let us know what you think about that. And now we are good for only Star Wars talk.
Star Wars from here on out. Probably not, but
I think we might continue to have fun like that at the very beginning of the show, just like general conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, not always, but when big things like that pop up, for sure.
You got to think a lot of people that like Star Wars are, into Marvel movies, DC movies, the like. So
for sure. Okay, so we've talked about it on top. We got Han Solo here to represent the 40th anniversary of the greatest film of all time, Empire Strikes Back. And what I wanted to discuss, what our favorite moments of that film are. So I know those of you that have been diehard Mando Talk listeners, Mando Talkians, I don't know what you want to call yourselves, but ever since day one, I have said that Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars film. It's going to remain that way, at least until today. I doubt that it changes, because from what we keep seeing... Yeah, right. That's what I was going to say.
Especially if we continue on the trend that we're going.
True. So I'm going to let you lead this first, because I know you don't have as great of feelings for Empire as I do.
And it's also been a hot minute since I've seen that movie.
Sure.
I watched a few of them. Like I was saying, I may have said it last week. I tried to watch The Last Jedi again. For those of you who've been listening to Mando Talk know I'm, not the biggest fan of that movie.
And I'm an okay fan of it. It's okay.
And so I tried to rewatch it. Couldn't do it, unfortunately. But yeah, as far as The Empire Strikes Back, great movie. Mine has to be, though, it's probably everyone's, first recollection when they think of the Star Wars movie is the scene where Luke finds out that Darth Vader is his father.
That's
and,
fair.
And you can't like disagree with that being like one of the biggest moments of that film.
Oh no.
And it's been argued too, like as new fans come along and people have children and they introduce them to the Star Wars world. It's like, what order do you view it in? Do you view it from the prequels through, or do you view it in the release order? And I'm a big component of the release order, because you get that that awe factor from the reveal of Darth Vader.
And I think one of the amazing things about Empire, and not only Empire, but the whole original trilogy, even with the technology that we have today, I still feel like it doesn't like 100% match up, but it's watchable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even like people that have grown up with all these high-tech, fancy action scenes, I still feel like the original trilogy, especially Empire, for me, hold up. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about that film.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of my favorite moments.
Let's hear them. I'm sure you have a
These
list
are like
in your
particular.
Mind.
I really only have one, and I'm hoping I think of more. At the beginning of the film, when Luke is hanging upside down, and we see him like actually use the Force. I know he in A New Hope he uses the Force by connecting with Obi-Wan to destroy the Death Star, but like visually seeing him use the Force to get that lightsaber out of the snow, and then the music on top of that was exceptional. I loved that moment. Okay, and then another moment I just thought of, I mean, we get the introduction to Yoda.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that's the movie that Yoda's introduced.
Right,
so.
And we get my favorite quote. I mean, it's hanging up in my classroom. Do or do not, there is no try.
There you go.
So that's the second. Boba Fett gets some okay action. I mean, still, we talked about it last week. If you haven't seen last week's episode, I really feel like last week's Mando Talk episode, we crushed it. Check that out if you haven't done so. But anyway.
From the host's opinion.
Yeah, anyway.
No, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
It was a Boba Fett heavy conversation. But speaking of Boba Fett and Empire, that is the most action that we see out of him, I feel like, even though he's just walking around. But like the impact of him having Han in carbonite through every scene that he's in is really impactful for me, because again, Han Solo is my favorite character. And it's because Empire. I mean, Empire, Luke goes on his separate journey. Han and Leia and Chewie go on their separate journey, and it's just really interesting for me.
Also in that movie, isn't it the line where Han and Leia, it's like, I love you, I know?
Yes.
That happens.
That's
so we get to
good
see
one.
that relationship start forming.
Yeah, and also I feel like the lightsaber battle, I mean, not taking anything away, again, from A New Hope between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, but the battle between Luke and Vader, is prime time Star Wars for me.
Prime time.
And again, I know that like the fighting. If you watch the prequels and you see all the cinematography and the choreography,
you have to compare them from different times because I'm
Right.
sure like the sequels have better action sequences because we see Kylo and Rey fighting.
Kylo and Rey's fight on the Death Star
Mhm.
in the water was pretty legit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Luke and Vader battling, and the silhouette of like that classic picture of Vader on top of that platform and Luke like sitting there cross-armed like ready to go. Yeah,
sure.
Ooh yeah. I love that lightsaber battle, and it leads up to that point that you made. We see Luke Skywalker discover that Darth Vader is his father, and when he screams no, you can just feel it in your gut. And then the last thing I'll say is about Empire is we get a tease of the connection between Luke and Leia.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever they're flying off in the Falcon, and Luke calls out to Leia and says, "Leia, hear me," and she can feel him through the Force, and she goes back.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Harken back. I'm gonna touch on something real quick. I know here in studio we've talked about doing a top 5 series, right? Top 10 series, and talking about those lightsaber battles. That's one thing we had in mind. And for those of you listening, if you have any ideas of stuff in Star Wars that you'd like a top 5 or a top 10 for, leave it in the comments either on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or down in the YouTube comments. Let us know because we'd love to have a little debate over what you guys want to see us rank.
Dude, lightsaber battles is in there for sure.
I was about to say that's probably one of the first ones we'll do, but we're trying to get some rules established so it's not a lot of us rambling.
Right.
So
yeah, we've been throwing out ideas, and I know we've talked about it on the podcast before. We've teased it up. We're still throwing out some ideas, and hopefully that's going to be in development soon. I think it'd be a lot of fun, especially during this off season. Now that the Mandalorian's done and season 7 of the Clone Wars is done. You know what? I just thought of something.
What's that?
I asked at the beginning of the show what we're streaming. I didn't even mention Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian. We've got 3 episodes so far. The 4th one comes out again tomorrow. We are recording on Thursday, so we're not able to mention that 4th episode on this podcast this week. But if anything comes out interesting on that 4th episode of that Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, we'll talk about it next week. But just check that out if you haven't done so yet. Again, that's one of the other shows that's going on for Star Wars. Just really cool, getting some backstory, some information about The Mandalorian, that show that we developed this podcast around. So if it wasn't for it, I don't even know if we'd be sitting here. But we are now ready to discuss this news report. Timothy Olyphant?
Elephant.
Okay, you've seen him. I know anyone probably has seen him and you just don't know. Justified, I know it's the big thing that he's in. It's a TV show. I haven't even seen it.
I haven't seen it. No.
But there's like a song in Justified that I have on my playlist. So I've seen him on like my album covers because he's like, I think, the main character or something. And he's in another Western show, and he really pulls off the Western vibe. And I think that fits perfectly for Season 2 and just The Mandalorian in general. And the report is that he is going to be in Season 2. Now, I want to go ahead and read a key part from the article that /film released this week. And that article says, Olyphant filmed scenes wearing Boba Fett's Mandalorian armor for the upcoming 2nd season of The Mandalorian. That might sound confusing because earlier this month it was reported that Temuera Morrison, who originally played Jango Fett, was cast as Boba Fett. And we talked about that heavily last week. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of fun doing so. Now, if Morrison is playing the role of Boba Fett, then Timothy Olyphant is playing a character named Cobb Vanth. Now, this Cobb Vanth character was introduced in Chuck Wendig's Aftermath book series. I believe there was 3 of those books. It's set after Return of the Jedi. And what this character is teased as is a self-appointed sheriff of the Tatooine based settlement called Freetown, and he wears a mysterious set of Mandalorian armor that was acquired from Jawas who scavenged the wreckage of Jabba the Hutt's sail barge. So, in the book series, though, it never confirms that it is Boba Fett's armor.
Mm-hmm. It's just Mandalorian armor.
Right. But he's on Tatooine.
He got it from the wreckage.
He got it from the Jawas. And we know from A New Hope that Jawas are all about making money off of scrap, basically. So it would make sense to do so. What are your thoughts on just that so far? Like,
about him getting the armor or getting
or
a
do you
set
think
of armor?
that it's just from what I've said, as far as like Aftermath, the book series, in which I haven't even read it, but I have seen like the major things that came out of it. Do you think that it's Boba Fett's armor, like 100%, without it being said that it is?
It could be, and we see in episode 4 or 5 of The Mandalorian. I always forget the one where they're on Tatooine.
5, yeah.
Okay, 5.
Chapter 5.
Where we see that teaser at the end of the Spurs walking up, so we know someone has that armor.
Someone's got it, because Boba Fett's the only one that we know that has
and
spurs.
See, now at this point with this new information coming out, it leads me to believe that it could not be Boba Fett. It could be just the armor of Cobb Vanth wearing it. So
true, right?
It's leaving a whole lot more questions. I know they do these teas to get people excited.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm like wondering to myself. And we'll talk about it later. Like all these things that have been coming out each week, we'll hit on that eventually.
Yeah.
But just real quick before we get into the next question that I have, I would be 100% down with Cobb Vanth coming in and wearing Boba Fett's armor, but I am a little bit concerned though that it will be. I know last week we talked about like the casual fan.
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of concerned that it will be a little bit confusing for them.
Right.
Seeing someone wearing Boba Fett's armor and then finding out that someone else, Tamara Morrison, is actually Boba Fett.
Right.
But I feel like that could be easily explained and somehow throughout the series or season. Thoughts on that?
So you think it's something that'll happen like organically as the season progresses? He'll get the armor, or do you think he'll come out?
I think he'll
first
already
time it
have
shows
it.
up. Okay.
I think maybe if this report is true that he is playing Cobb Vanth, I think the person that we see at the end of Chapter 5 would be Cobb Vanth.
And again, that harks back. We had a long discussion last episode about, if we would prefer Rex or Boba Fett.
Right.
I think all of us agreed both if we could get them.
Yeah, and that leads me to my next question, actually.
What is it?
Okay. Do you think he could actually be playing Boba Fett? Meaning that Tamara Morrison is playing only Captain Rex.
So you think they just split the role? Does Boba Fett, you'll have to refresh my memory, does he have a lot of talking points? Like vocally, does he say a lot?
He says a couple lines.
Okay.
But
so
you could easily adjust it like with editing to match.
Yeah. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see.
Now,
because Din Djarin's voice changes a little bit when he takes his helmet off.
Yeah, now we actually get to see Pedro Pascal voice acting in the booth, and he actually sounds just like him.
Oh yeah,
so it's really cool.
Yeah.
But
so what I was saying is though, like when Cobb Vanth has this armor on, he may sound like Tamara Morrison. So
ooh, that's a good point.
Or not Cobb Vanth, the actor's name, Olyphant.
Elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah, they may, distort his voice to sound like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And then when he takes it off, he gets to be his, own.
Cobb Vanth.
Well, he gets to be Boba Fett as...
Well, see, this is where I kind of... Once he takes off that helmet, and if they show Oliphant's face, he can no longer be Boba Fett. Because they don't look alike, in my opinion. And we know that Boba Fett is... He was originally a clone, but they took out
the thing. He'll have to look
like Jango.
The clone look, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then another thing for me that tells me that Timothy Olyphant's not playing Boba Fett. I don't think you hire somebody like that and not show his face.
True. And that's what we went back with Pedro Pascal. We were like, we know
Yeah.
in some form or fashion we're going to get to see his face because you don't pay an actor like that to wear a helmet.
Exactly. And I feel like once you reveal a big-time actor like that, I mean, he's got his own show in Justified that a lot of people love. Once you reveal his face,
the magic's kind of gone.
Yeah, and you can see that it's not Boba Fett because we know what Boba Fett should look like. He should look like Tamara Morrison.
Right.
So I think just that in itself kind of shows that Oliphant's not playing Boba Fett, but it could very well be possible that he is wearing Boba Fett's armor. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's Cobb Vanth.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of, I mean, it heavily hints that he is. If they're committing to showing this character from the book, then it will be. But it could very easily, they could create some new character with it, I guess.
Yeah. And if he is this, self-proclaimed sheriff of, was it Freetown?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could, it start out the series as it's bouncing around and it shows Boba Fett as Tamara Morrison, as the actor rather.
Right.
Have the armor, and then him with, I forget who he was going after, that assassin that Din Djarin was. That we hear the Spurs going to pick up afterward.
Oh yeah, I don't remember her name, but I know who you're talking about.
We may see some,
rewatch
some adventure happen with them, and then him lose his armor somehow in there, and then it show up in Freetown, and that's how we're introduced.
Oh, okay.
So it helps casual fans see that, that's not Boba Fett. It's just this armor ends up.
See, I was kind of worried, and as you were saying that, I was kind of thinking, in my mind, it would make sense to show Boba Fett in his armor and also show Captain Rex and show that they look the same. But I feel like if they go this route, it might be a little bit more difficult to explain the difference between Captain Rex and Boba Fett because they're going to look the same, but they're not the same.
Right.
I don't know. It just, this throws in like a complete new curveball for me.
See, and with all these like weekly updates and stuff keep coming out, it's leading me more to believe that it's going to be Ahsoka and Rex, and then there's going to be Cobb Vanth. I don't, as more stuff comes out, the reality that Boba Fett's going to be in there for me is kind of.
You don't think he's playing Boba Fett?
Still, I mean, there's a possibility.
Yeah.
But like I said, with every new bit of information that comes out, it's diminishing for me.
So this is what makes it hard for me too, though. If you have Ahsoka, you've got to have Rex.
Right. And we already know for sure? I don't know if we've seen it from Lucasfilms.
If Ahsoka's in it,
yeah.
We haven't gotten an official.
But I mean,
but it was Hollywood Reporter.
I was about to say, as far as we're concerned, it's pretty much.
Yeah, but it was also a Hollywood Reporter that said Tamara Morrison was Boba Fett. So it's hard to
conflicting.
But anyway, yeah, like what I was saying, Ahsoka. If Ahsoka's there, Rex is probably going to come up at some point.
Right.
I feel like if Cobb Vanth is there, there's a good argument to say Boba Fett would have to show up at some point.
Right.
Even though, again, casual fans think Boba Fett's dead. He fell in the Sarlacc pit. And for even the diehard fans, all we know, Boba Fett's dead.
Right.
We haven't seen any proof that he's alive, except that little snippet at Chapter 5 ending, but now it could be Cobb Vanth. Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah. So again, a lot more questions than answers.
Yeah, exactly. And now I would love for it to be all the above.
Right.
I would love for Cobb Vanth and...
As Star Wars fans, though, wouldn't we want it to be that way all the time?
True.
I'm sure we would have liked the sequels to have everything we wanted.
True. Like a legit action-heavy Luke Skywalker with a green lightsaber.
Yeah. Just running around, just decimating them. But
yeah, we'll never get it. Unless we get a prequels to the sequels where we see Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, trained under Luke Skywalker.
But Mark Hamill already said he has the beginning, middle, and end. So
yeah, well, they can get, CGI.
I was about to say they did it with Leia. Mark Hamill, does he have any kids?
I don't know for a whole movie, though.
Do you know if Mark Hamill has any
Oh, yeah, he
sons?
does. Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Let's face map him. We've got Luke for another 65 years, guys.
Okay.
No worries.
But like I was saying, and like you just agreed, all the above is what I would hope for. And honestly, this news report of Olyphant playing Cobb Vanth in Boba Fett's armor has me worried or concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next thing that I have, and you've kind of touched on it, is are we starting to feel a little frustrated with these weekly reports or rumors or leaks? Because personally, I am.
I mean, us as a show, though, it gives us
Oh,
something to
yeah,
talk
it
about.
gives us a topic to talk about.
And it gives content for our viewers to tune in on.
But go back to when we saw Chapter 1 of the first season of The Mandalorian, and everyone was surprised about the child and how he looked just like Yoda. And that's all that everyone was talking about for weeks. And almost leading all the way up until that show was over, all that people were talking about was the child.
Yeah.
If all this stuff continues to come out, I mean, we've got Ahsoka, we've got Tamara Morrison. He's in there somehow, either Rex or Boba Fett, one of the two or both.
Or some new character. We don't know. I mean, at this point.
Oh, well, we've got Michael Biehn coming as a new character. He's a bounty hunter. He's the guy from, we said it last week, Tombstone, Johnny Ringo.
Right, yeah.
He's coming in.
Ahsoka,
Tamara Morrison, Boba Fett.
I thought you were about to say Danny Trejo. I was like, wait a minute. I don't think he's in there.
No. But yeah, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Cobb Vanth, Captain Rex. And that's so much. That is so much.
See, and we too have to remember, like you said, like season 1, like they knew what they were doing because they produced something that was unique in the Star Wars universe. It had some tie-ins, and it kept people captivated. So even with all these leaks and releases, we have to just trust that Favreau knows what he's doing. And
and that's
and season 2. I mean, there's a thing with series like this where you start to see a decline. In some series, you see like a peak around season 2 or 3. Hopefully, that's not the case with this one. Hopefully, we see this gradual, increase among the season. So there you go, math teacher.
Exponential curve. Let's keep it going all the way up.
There you go.
Do you have any concerns about it though, or is you just kind of on board with me? Like it's concerning. It's concerning for me as far as a fan. Like I thoroughly enjoyed being surprised by the child.
I was about to say, it diminishes like the wow factor that we get from seeing it, in real time.
But I will say this though, them throwing in that Cobb Vanth or Timothy Olyphant, whoever he's playing, dressed as Boba Fett. Now I don't know what to expect.
They're just doubling back on it. They're like, no, wait, we were just kidding.
So in my mind, all I'm telling myself is I have a feeling that I'm going to see Boba Fett's armor, but I have no clue who's in it. Ahsoka's coming back.
What if it's like a Din Djarin? We don't see him till like episode 7. We don't see who's
true.
Wearing the armor.
That's a very good point.
But then casual fans would be like, well, this is Boba Fett. And then 7, they're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah. But, to wrap this up, though, I'm all for all the above. Mm-hmm. Give me Boba Fett. Give me Cobb Vanth.
I think we can all agree that
give me Captain Rex. Give me Ahsoka. Give me Din Djarin. Give me the child. That's perfecto.
And while you're at it, give me a couple of Palpatines in there.
Yeah,
I'm ready
sure.
for it.
I mean, JJ will throw in Palpatine for no reason and won't explain it.
We can get Rose back.
Come on now, Last Jedi hater. I know you don't want that. Okay. Now, one thing, though, that I do want to talk about is why I'm concerned about Season 2 of The Mandalorian, but why I'm excited still. So my concern is this. You think back to Season 1, honestly, about 30% of the early episodes, 40% of the early episodes, was the Mandalorian walking around with the child.
Mm-hmm.
Just walking. Now, a lot of people would say that's a negative. There's nothing going on. But for me, it was extremely refreshing just to take a step back. Star Wars was back as a Western, basically. Yeah. I mean, A New Hope felt Western. The original trilogy, definitely, you got Western vibes. And I feel like with The Mandalorians, and I know in Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, even they said that when George Lucas created The Mandalorians, he thought of Clint Eastwood's The Man with No Name.
Right.
So, very Western idea, culture, type of people. With all of these players, characters, top-notch actors, actresses coming in, there's not enough time for that. For, that Western vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they'll still have the Western vibe, but it won't be like that slower paced that Westerns traditionally are. And I know I mean, I'm sure I'll end up loving all the action, but that's one of my concerns, is that it won't feel like season 1 is just, because in my mind, season 1 was so refreshing. It just got back to the roots, and obviously we get to see this awesome dude in a Mandalorian outfit, and the child.
Our boy back here.
Our boy in the back. But yeah, your thoughts on that?
I mean, definitely I see your point where they're not going to have time to have all these, just slow-paced episodes.
Walking along, getting attacked by,
Yeah.
what are they called? I can't believe
walkers?
I'm doing this again. No, it's the species that Bosk is.
Oh, yeah.
Starts with a T.
Tauntaun?
No, I can't believe I'm doing this 2 weeks in a row. I'm dropping the ball on something. But anyway, continue.
I mean, here at Mando Talk, we're pretty much known for that,
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It is a drawback.
Trandoshans. Just thought of it.
There you go. I've never heard that word before, so
Trandoshans.
congratulations.
Yeah, that's what those guys are.
I
Chapter 2 when
they're
attack.
just the Bosch creatures
Yeah,
to me.
there you go.
But yeah, so
Continue.
we will see a lot of action, and that'll be a drawback and a benefit in a lot of people's eyes, I'm sure. But like you said, it was a breath of fresh air with all we had. The movie come out, and then all this excitement.
Right.
We had the Mandalorian come out, and then the movie, and it just brought people up on this new platform. Then we have Clone Wars, where a lot of action sequences go down.
Right.
I don't think that the Mandalorian's going to completely give up on these like peaceful aspects, but I do think that they're gonna try to see some of that momentum that they got from the Clone Wars and Rise of Skywalker.
Like just keep going with action.
Mm-hmm.
Like
just
bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, just because there was a lot of lashback for Rise of Skywalker, but people still watched it. So
Yeah,
and a lot of people enjoyed it. So
yeah, it's another film that was like
and you have
50-50.
Again, I'm gonna harp on The Last Jedi, but it was a slower paced movie and it didn't do as well. And I know it's completely different night and day difference between TV series and a movie.
I don't necessarily think that Last Jedi was slower paced, but some of the
So you like the 2.5 hour car chase in space?
Well, I agree. I feel like there could have been something that wasn't.
Because I mean, you watch an episode of Cops, man, 30 minutes of pop, and you're hooked. Live
True.
TV, even, man.
That's true.
So that's just, I mean, like you said, the action will be fun to see because we're gonna have some hard hitters. We have Ahsoka, Rex, Boba Fett, maybe a new character, Cobb Vanth, the Mandalorian's still in there.
Yeah,
the armor. We have all these characters that are very skilled in combat,
and that leads perfectly to my excited piece, like why I'm pumped up about this. Again, it's going to be action and jam packed. I don't think there's going to be a chapter that you could miss as far as what do we need to know about the Mandalorians in general, Din Djarin, what's going on with the child. But this is leading to a question for me. It would be exciting for me, but I'd love to hear your take on it. Season 1, we strictly followed Din Djarin and the child. Like, we saw everything through their eyes. We've got Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth reportedly coming back. Is it possible, because you know how TV shows, some episodes they follow along with these characters, some episodes they follow along with these other characters. Do you think it could be possible for where we bounce completely away from Din Djarin and the child for one episode, and we see this feud go down between Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth? Because if both Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth are in this show, they're fighting at some point because that's his armor.
They both want that set of armor.
Yeah.
Because it's Beskar still, right? Is that canon?
Yes,
his
it is.
Armor?
Because I know Django's is, and I know that he just gave a paint job to his dad's armor. So I'm
right.
Yeah, it's
so we know Beskar's not easy to come by in the galaxy,
right.
So it's going to be a prized possession to fight over. So,
yeah.
I mean, and I think that it can reach the point where it can bounce back between the two.
Yeah, and not necessarily even just full episodes, but maybe like intervals, like back
right.
and forth,
back
and forth.
I think that's more how it'll be. I don't think they'll completely take a dip away from an episode from Din Djarin and the child, because then you reach the area where people have grown attached to the Mandalorian because of the child.
True.
And if you don't see him for a whole episode, they're like, oh, well, maybe they just forgot about this whole storyline. So I think they have to, and I'm sure they've already found that balance of the two that they want to reach.
I mean, just in early thoughts, speculation-wise, it seems if Cobb Vanth is in this, like Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth have this completely separate story, because we know that Din Djarin's trying to get the child to people like him, which would take him
away from Tatooine
toward Ahsoka, Jedi, I guess is my, like, because I know we talked about it in a podcast, like when he says, or when the armorer tells Din Djarin to take Baby Yoda to his people, is he talking about the species or is he talking about the people that have those same abilities?
Yeah.
But since Ahsoka's coming back, that leads me to think he's going to take the child to people with his same abilities. So that's like, there's a gap here where I feel like Din Djarin and the child have this path toward Ahsoka, but Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth have this path focused on figuring out who gets this armor first. So that's why I'm thinking, like, are we going to get separate stories, like split-offs?
Mm-hmm.
And I would enjoy it, but again, that goes back to another concern. Back to that just Western vibe of season 1, where we followed the same guy, where Din Djarin was basically like Clint Eastwood, the man with no name. We had no clue who was under there. We just know that he was super dope, blasting all of these people.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, their paths have to cross, though.
Yeah, at some point.
You don't get a sheriff of a like a sand like planet town.
Yeah.
You don't get a sheriff like that in a Western space spinoff of the Mandalorian, and them not, come to arms with one another.
I just want to see Din Djarin and Boba Fett battle.
I'm sure.
I think we should because Boba Fett needs a reason to be legit. Because I know people out there, a lot of people are like, oh, he's just a dude with a cool suit on. If he defeats Cobb Vanth, that gives him legitimacy. And then that's when he goes and either battles Din Djarin or they join forces. And he becomes part of the Mandalorians.
What if Cobb Vanth steals Boba Fett's armor and Boba Fett needs some and he sees old Din Djarin walking around? And he sees that shiny little bit of Beskar.
So then that would become contradiction with canon, though, because he gets it from Jawas. Cobb Vanth gets the armor from Jawas.
Well, I mean, like...
But again, we're back to...
The Jawas have it and take it, and Boba Fett's like, well, I don't have anything to help me.
But again, we're back to the idea
grasping at straws.
We don't even know that Cobb Vanth's armor in the book is Boba Fett's. We just know that he's on Tatooine.
True.
Like, Boba Fett could still have his armor on getting out of the Sarlacc pit, while Cobb Vanth already has this no name that we don't know who he is, Mandalorian's armor on. And so we're just going to see those two just go ahead and they're ready to battle. They both got the armor. We haven't even thought about that. Because, again, like, the book only mentions Mandalorian armor. It does not get specific.
Mm-hmm.
So Cobb Vanth and Boba Fett both could already be strapped up in Beskar steel, ready to get at it.
Just going to have episodes 1 through 8. We assume it has 8 episodes. It's just going to be just endless, shootouts. But
then again, the one thing that contradicts that is the report says that Timothy Olyphant was in Boba Fett armor. It's just like a backward seesaw, man.
Take it with a grain of salt.
I'm confused, but I'll say this.
The good thing is, though, there's a lot more pros coming out of our speculations than negatives.
I think so.
And honestly, like, if I think about it, like, none of these, if Tamara Morrison plays Boba Fett as opposed to Rex or both or neither, another character or whatever, all of them, in my mind, lead to a story that will be enjoyable to watch.
Oh, for sure.
And like, there's not really an end where you're like, there's no way they're going to be able to pull this out. Like, I mean, it's going to be a jam-packed season. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I echo all the people on Mando talk when I say that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for it. And like we keep saying, my request is all of the above. Just throw in all those characters. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
You don't have to take any of them out.
I mean, they could even bring this guy back.
Yeah. Han Solo. He's still there.
He got any more
kids?
He's
around.
He's got any dads? I guess that would be right.
Well, he's got kids. Ben Solo.
There you go. Give him a blaster and let him go to town.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Those are my kind of thoughts on all of it.
I mean, we've covered a lot of speculation.
Speculation as always. We have fun with it, but we don't necessarily get all of them right, at least.
Have we ever gotten one right?
I feel like if
Boba Fett comes back, I'll at least have one right.
Yeah, you will.
But
you said that at the end of Chapter 5, that was Boba Fett. But now it's looking like it's Cobb Vanth.
Well, 50% is failing in most people's eyes. But
I will
I'll take
say
it
this,
as a
though.
win.
I feel like when The Mandalorian was going on, we were on point. Like, I feel like we were able to predict very well what was going to happen. Like, we had a certain grasp.
Nolan talked about the core every week.
Nolan wants to see the core. He wants to see Coruscant.
Not Army Corps, whatever.
He wants to go back to Revenge of the Sith. Somehow, okay, we're going to throw in MCU here. They're going to go like in some time-lapse thing, and Din Djarin and Baby Yoda are going to witness Order 66.
It's like going back in time.
That's Nolan's request.
Yeah, my goodness.
We're just kidding. I don't know if he requests that or not, but I'm
sure he does. And again, we tease.
Yeah. Okay.
Shout out Nolan and J. Cobb, wherever they're at.
Yeah.
Hopefully listening. Who knows at this point?
Nolan did text me and say to give a shout out to all the people listening. Jacob didn't really say anything, so
shout out to the people listening.
Yeah.
Shout out to all of our listeners out there. We honestly, like, jokes aside, we do appreciate you guys.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because we would do this anyway. Just a couple of.
I'm having fun just talking Star Wars, getting around usually Friday nights, hanging out with each other. Doesn't matter how many numbers we're getting. I'm just having fun with it. So we hope that you're having fun with it. Again, continue to check us out anywhere and everywhere. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Mando Talk. Let us know what you think of everything that me and BA talked about on this episode. Comment on this YouTube video. Reply to us on Twitter. Comment on Instagram or Facebook, and we will talk about it next week on the podcast.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, reach out with ideas on our top 5 series we're going to try to get into, and I mean any other ideas that you want to talk about.
If you have any categories for the top 5 series that you want to hear us talk about, and when I say us, we are really trying to get like a full huge panel. And I don't even know if you know this. I'm trying to get it more than 4 people. Like,
where would we put them? They gonna sit in each other's lap?
Hopefully all of this will be over with and social distancing won't be a thing to where we can sit on top of each other.
Right, there you go.
Who knows, though. But, yeah, we've got a bunch planned for the top 5 series. But if you have categories that you think would be perfect for that top 5 series, let us know in the comments. Last thing I'll say, because we haven't said this in a while, check out our website, mandotalk.weebly.com. It's really just there to be an easy access for every single one of our podcast episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if you're a new listener, we have been reviewing, or we started this podcast all the way back in November, whenever The Mandalorian came out. We've been reviewing every single one of the Mandalorian episodes. We reviewed every single one of the Clone Wars episodes, and now we have started to just become a Star Wars news report almost, where we have fun speculating about the news, especially during this off season. But like BA said, we will be coming with a top 5 series here soon, so get involved with that. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Brandon, thank you for coming.
As always,
stepping up.
I appreciate you having me in.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. However you are enjoying Mando Talk. National Streaming Day. Hopefully you've been streaming Mando Talk. That's all that we have for this week. Do you want to send us out?
We didn't even get into Spotify streaming. I listen to all kind of podcasts, but that's another.
True. Yeah. Do you want to send us out?
Sure.
All right, man.
Live long and prosper. Wait.
Hold up, man. No.
I'm just kidding. I thought that would be funny. Like,
probably
sure, one person got a laugh. So.
I got a laugh.
Hey, there we go. 2. But yeah, I mean, until next time, from everybody here at Mando Talk, we have spoken.